Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. In this video, we are going to kit bash / scratch build this custom fertilizer facility based on a prototype. That's coming up. So like most construction projects, they start with deconstruction. I've removed the track. There was a little spur line and switch in this area of the layout. I knew I was going to have an industry, but I wasn't sure what. So I'm modeling Eastern and Central Washington, and I looked on Google Earth for rail-served industries in this area, and I found this fertilizer facility that we're going to use as our prototype for this build. So the things I see in this photo that I really want to make sure that I include in my facility that are the string of buildings along the road at the bottom of the photo. The building on the other side of the tracks looks like it's a shop or an office, and then all of the storage opportunities for farm chemicals and fertilizers. I want to include those type of things in my proto freelance version of this industry. So I started scouring the internet for kits, and I found this Walters Clayton County lumber kit, and this really resembles that string of buildings along the road. I'm not going to buy this kit. I'm just going to scratch build this section, but I'm going to use that kit as kind of my reference for building this row of buildings. I apologize in advance, I forgot to have the camera running, but I built this string of buildings just using odds and ends and some stuff that I had laying around to resemble that Clark County lumber kit, but it really looks like those string of buildings in the actual facility that we're modeling. What I'm going to do though for the space that I have is I'm going to flip the facility 180 degrees. I'm going to put that string of buildings along the back of the layout, and I'll put that office / shop building on the front side of the layout, and that way it make it kind of fit the space that I have. But the next thing that I need to do now that I have the string of buildings put together is figure out where I want to locate them, and then I'll get some sheet cork in this area here, and then I'll get the track work going. Okay, so I got the sheet cork in for the yard area here. I can still lift my building section out for doing the detail work on it, which is kind of cool. And then here's the switch that I pulled out. I'll reinstall this. I've got to get my soldering iron out so I can pull these rail joiners off, get it cleaned up, ready to reinstall. And I'll just run 2 spur lines like the prototype has. They won't be quite as long. Again, I'm tight on space, but I'll stop them somewhere right in here so that I can still get a road around the back end of my track and over to here for this building. So I'll work on that next. So I got all the track down. I went over the joints with a file just to smooth everything down. I ran a couple of cars on it. Everything's nice and smooth, ready to go. I got the feeder wires connected to this section. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of this burnt sienna, and I'm going to go through and I'm just going to paint the rails. Just so I want this to look a little more beat up. I'm gonna do some work on the ties here as well. This is an old farm spur that doesn't get used a ton, so I don't think that there's a ton of maintenance that gets done on it. So I'm gonna try to make it look that way, that it's really very utilitarian, doesn't get used very often, and doesn't get taken care of very good. So I'm going to work on that. I'll do a little bit of time lapse here to show you what I'm doing. So I picked up this package of pastels, and I'm just going to use these to try to weather these ties just a little bit. I'm just dragging them across the ties and then just running my finger over it, and it kind of dulls them out like they've been sun faded. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this before I go to town with putting the ballast down, and then if I need to, I'll do a little bit more afterwards. And the cool thing is you can layer your colors if you want. You can go real heavy, you can go real dark. I've got some other pigments too, but I just kind of thought these grays, they really make those ties look washed out like an old line that doesn't get a whole lot of maintenance done on it or attention. So I'm kind of liking the way this looks. It looks like a line that just never sees any maintenance. Okay guys, so I got my ground throw reinstalled. I just used a little piece of cork underneath it. I put that down with some hot glue. Then I just put a dab of hot glue on my ground throw, and then I put 2 track spikes in there, and that's it. It's ready to go. So I think what I'll do, I'm gonna zoom out here a little bit. I think what I'll do is figure where the, I'm gonna spin the camera, where the yard will begin. On the prototype, the fence is back here past the turnout. So I think what I'll do is I'll draw a black line across here, something, and then I'm just gonna ballast this part of the track in. And then I think over here in the yard area, I think I'm gonna use like an N scale fine ballast, something a little finer, you know, to give the illusion that tractors and pickups and that kind of stuff drive on it, and that it's not quite as well maintained as you know, a main line or even this branch line, to be honest. So I'm going to go to work on getting that ballast down on this section. So I got the ballast down along the main line, and then I got a little bit just right around the 2 little spur lines that go into our fertilizer facility. I didn't get carried away with doing the whole yard area yet. So here you can see I just kind of staged the scene a little bit with a few little detail pieces that I had. But what a difference just adding a few little details can make to a scene. So over here at the workbench, I've got a couple of old Athearn tank cars. They got the 3 lids on them. I'm got a few extra of these. So these ones are corn sweetener cars. So I'm not going to run those on the layout, but these are perfect donors for making custom cars for our Simplot fertilizer facility that we're building. So I've taken a few of them. You can see here's all the frames and trucks and stuff. I've broke them down, and I've washed them, and they're drying right now. They're getting ready for a coat of primer. But what I'll do is I'll come back, and once I got the paint on them, I'll come back and I'll put a Simplot decal on them so that we can run them for servicing our fertilizer facility that we're working on. So I used some of this Tester's decal paper to print me out some decals for the Simplot fertilizer facility project that we're working on. I've got the tank cars painted up. They're an off-white. We'll grime them up too, since these are going to be out, you know, for use in an agricultural facility. They're not going to be real clean. So these were pretty simple to use. You print them out. I found the logo online, cut and pasted it into a Word document, sized it for what I thought I needed, and then just printed these out. And then you had to hit the, once it was printed out, you had to hit it with a coat of clear. So that was pretty easy. So we'll cut some of these out, and we'll, I've got a couple of kind of storage tanks for the mock-up that I'm using right now. So we'll cut a couple of these bigger ones out, and we'll put them on these storage tanks and see how that works. Okay, so I got a couple of the decals that we printed out. We made and printed out, transferred over to these 2 storage tanks. They look pretty cool. They add quite a bit of detail. The paper is a little bit thicker. The decal transferred, the clear, it's a little bit thicker, and I'm using the Microsol and Microset, and I don't know if it's going to be able to chew through that like it does the A-line and Micromark microscale decals. So I'll have to kind of see how that works out, but these are totally custom, so that's kind of cool. I'll do a little bit of weathering, and I think that they'll be just fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is apply a couple of decals with the same logo onto our tank cars that we're working on. I got them, I told you earlier in the video, I broke them down, primed them, got them painted this off-white. I'll put this logo right in this area, and then once that's done, we'll weather these things up a bit, and I think these are going to be pretty cool addition to the layout. All right guys, so I've got one of our tank cars we're working on, so we'll put the decals onto it that we printed out, and when we finish up, it should look something like this. So we'll work on getting the decals on this one. I'm gonna do it in time lapse. Okay, so I'm back at the workbench. I've got the tank cars reassembled. I got the covered hoppers reassembled. They turned out pretty cool. These are gonna look great with our Simplot fertilizer facility that we're working on. And with the custom decals, it's really kind of the next level for me for my modeling. So I'm kind of, I'm pleased with the way it's turned out. The one thing that I'm not digging is you don't really notice it so much on the tank car. I'm gonna set that aside. But on the covered hopper, let me grab a pointer here. You can see that the clear on the water slide decals, I used micro set and micro sol on all of these decals. These are micro scale decals. These are the ones that I typically use. This is the first time I've tried printing my own. And you can see that the white film is pretty much burnt completely off. I don't really notice it here, but I notice it on this, and it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in my opinion. So what I'm gonna try to do to alleviate that is I have the other covered hopper, and I'm gonna try to do some weathering to it. Remember, this is at a fertilizer facility, so it's probably gonna get beat to heck in all honesty. So I pulled up a few photos. I've got my iPad setting up on the layout in front of me, and I'm just kind of using it as a guide. And I'm trying to use, I watched a couple videos. I'm just trying to use the sponge technique, and I started with some burnt sienna to get a base coat down. And then what I'll do is I'll layer my paints a little bit, and then I'll come back with a couple of washes and just really try to grime this thing up. That's what I'm working on now. So I'll keep going with this, and then I'll check back in with you when I get a little. Okay, so I put a couple more layers of the paint on with the foam brush technique, and then I used a little bit of contrast paint and a brush. This is the second side I did. The streaking looks a little bit better. I'm just going to give you a heads up. It doesn't take, it's real easy to overdo it, because here's what I did on the first side. And some of the streaking looks okay, and then I kind of overdid it. So just a heads up, less is more, I think, when it comes to this weathering. This is the first one I've ever done, so it's okay, it'll run. I may just reshoot this whole car, but I grimed the top up. But I don't know, it's an old beater, so it was good to learn on, but it doesn't take much to overdo it. There's the first side, there's the second side, a little more subtle. It just looks a little better. So just an FYI, if you're going to try doing this, practice on a I don't want to say a junker, but something that you're not your prized possession. So here they are up on the layout. You can see that the covered hopper, the weathering is really heavy, and then on the three lid tank car, I didn't go near as heavy at all. And then in this photo, you can see here's some more of the cars that will service this facility. They have zero weathering on them. They've got the decals, but I didn't do any weathering on these. So here it is all kind of mocked up. We'll do a little switching action here with our Santa Fe locomotive. It's got new badging on it. Down below the road number, it's got the BNSF on there. That was a little thing that I did. I think I covered that in the last video. But the track works great. Everything's smooth. It's nice and smooth in and out of the switch here. So that's really cool. Now, the other thing I want to stress too is this is not done. This is just, what I covered in this video. I want to do some chain link fencing and some gates. Like the prototype, they have a gate that goes across the two spur lines that come into this facility. And then there's a gate off of that road that would be kind of back behind where that white Jeep is parked along the left side of the screen. So I'd like to add that, lots more detail in the yard area with some more of the storage for the fertilizers and the different pieces of equipment they use for putting it on out in the field. So lots of opportunities to add more details, but this gives you kind of a basic idea on this facility. I've got a few other ones in the pipeline that I'll be working on. One of them is going to be a propane facility. I've got a agricultural fabrication facility that I'm going to do, and there's a few other ones that I've got plans for. So anyways, I hope you guys got something out of this video, even if it was just entertaining or pointing out the things that I did wrong. The weathering is all new to me. Printing out these decals is new to me. There was things I was very successful with. There's things that I'm going to try a little bit different the next time around. But again, just trying and getting my hands dirty to see what works, what doesn't work. I got the experience. The facility's coming along really cool. So anyways, if you like it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to follow along, and hit that notification button. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy railroading.